Should you pull for Zack's FR? His role is going to be a tank, mixed attacker, and a healer. His notable attacks: Chain Slash is skill 1. It is 3 HP attacks with 20% splash. It inflicts lock for 2 turns on all enemies, and it also triggers twice if you're attacking an enemy targeting Zack. Rush Assault, his skill 2. It is 6 HP attacks. It ignores defense. It is high turn rate. You are also getting the Chain Slash follow-up if Zack is attacking an enemy targeting himself. So you can use a skill 2, and you're also getting skill 1 as a follow-up. Apocalypse, his EX, it is 5 split HP attacks. It heals his own HP by 80% of his HP damage dealt, but it is only up to 20% of his max HP. It grants Brave Barrier for 6 turns, and it inflicts Lock for 4 turns on all enemies. Meteor Shots, his LD, it is 5 AoE HP attacks. It grants 1 free ability use, and it heals the party by 80% of the HP damage dealt by the move, but only up to 50% of their max HP. And lastly, it inflicts lock for 4 turns on all enemies. Raging Sunfire, it grants his Brave Barrier by 6 turns, and it also inflicts lock for 4 turns on all enemies. Now here's the real kicker with Zack. The Price of Freedom, his BT, it lasts for 8 turns. It redirects all HP attacks on the party to himself. He cannot die. And when the BT expires and his HP is 0 or less, the BT expiration will return his HP to at least 1. Oh, and also you get a party HP cap up by 30%. Because he doesn't have enough. His force conditions: you get a 20% whenever brave damage is reduced or absorbed by a buff. You get a 40% whenever anyone is acting while having an HP regen on them. And a final 40% whenever you are attacking an enemy targeting yourself. Zack's pros. This particular pro was relevant to him even before his FR came out. It's good enough to address again. His BT makes the party nearly invincible. Unless there's some sort of guaranteed instant death attack that the enemy does, like if a Lufeni orb ticks down to 0, then your team still dies. But apart from that, everything else cannot kill your party whatsoever. As long as Zack's BT is up, your team is alive. The great thing about Zack is not only is he great at defense, but his high damage actually makes him a great option for your main attacker. If you remember, Zack's skill 2 does 6 HP attacks, but if you add up his Chain Slash follow-up with that, it is a total of 9 HP attacks. Pretty good if you ask me. So if you have access to someone who can use off-turn damage along with Zack, or counter damage like Core, I think Core and Zack work beautifully together, by the way. I think Zack can absolutely be your main DPS unit. Next up, I want to talk about his FR. It's actually a very balanced FR. It's good for both offense and defense. The second condition, if you have a support unit in your team, it's very easy to accomplish. His first condition, whenever anyone attacks the party, essentially, that's an extra 20%. And here's the thing with Zack's first condition. It's not limited to just ticking up once every turn. So if the enemy dishes out a lot of attacks at one time, you're getting multiple 20% tick-ups. If the enemy moves a lot, you might get to 999% faster than you think you might. And finally, with the third condition, Zack's speed in his skill 2 particularly, because that's mainly going to be your form of damage, can help him rack big numbers on his own actions as well, not just by the enemy attacking. And this is a bit of a more minuscule pro, but I still think it's worth mentioning. The fact that his LD gives him access to direct party healing when he's not even a support unit in the first place, I think it's a really great cherry on top, to be honest. Let's get with Zack's cons. There aren't a lot, if I'm being honest. First things first, his main one: if you're not able to consistently lock the enemy, or if the enemy cleanses a lot, if the enemy is specifically immune to lock, Zack's damage does suffer a lot. His FR kind of banks on you being able to lock the enemy, and also his skill 2 loses a lot of power when you're not able to lock the enemy. It's not very often that you have trouble locking the enemy, but it can happen sometimes, and whenever it does happen, you just gotta be ready for it. Next up, Zack has no mode of counterattacking by himself. All of Zack's damage is on his attacks. He doesn't provide any sort of counter, any sort of trap on the enemy. It's not that big of a con in my opinion. However, this con in my opinion is a bit more significant, because Zack, from my knowledge, does not provide the party with any sort of debuff protection. If the enemy debuffs the team a lot, even if you're not necessarily going to be taking direct HP damage from them, you still will be getting debuffed. And if you're dealing with any sort of HP poison, you still gotta watch out for that. Luckily, someone else who conveniently has their banner the same time as Zack, that particular con can be mitigated, but you know, I'm not gonna spoil who it is if you haven't watched my other video yet. My Shoju pull rating for Zack is S. I really enjoyed using Zack during his BT Plus, and given his newest rework, I think they did him very well. People who love using him will be glad to see that he's very viable to use again. And since I've already greened him, I am also going to enjoy his FR. Thank you guys so much for watching with me. I will see you guys on the next one. Bye!